Okay, here's a little one that's out of my comfort zone, I guess. Not going into ancient cultures and things that happened in the past, but this is an old movie. Does anybody remember The Rocketeer? Well, Disney's looking at redoing The Rocketeer, and just hearing that, it tugs at my heartstrings a little bit. It makes me feel like they have no creativity. The Imagination Workshop no longer has any imagination. All they're doing is redoing all these movies in some type of SJW bull, and it's gotten disgusting. They're losing money hand over fist, but yet they won't take that woman that's in power there that is pushing this agenda on every single movie. You know, Disney always had princesses. There are more Disney princess movies than anything, so there's always that. But they're nowadays they want to take away the idea of the prince finding the great man. They want to make the woman the man, and then make the man some cuckling thing that can't quite do, like they did for Star Wars, where they slowly twisted it. And people are saying that they don't like that. This is a story that's supposed to be about the swashbuckling, sword carrying, knight, if you will, Jedi Knight, saves the princess. That's what made that thing happen. What happened in the in between three that they made was just trying to flesh out everything and go all, different ways with it and everything. But then the new system showed up, something quite weird right when it first started up. It pops up right off the bat with a black Jedi. Not against having black actors in things, but the Jedis that those were supposed to be clones, all of that one person, right? They're all clones of that one, where they're a clone army. So that couldn't be happening, and I don't know why they want to interject that into there. Mace Windu, Dindu. So they have to have that in there. And the new Star Wars area at Disney World is really not doing well at all either, too. And it's because they've jacked the prices way up. And the other thing that they did was they alienated all of the first 6 movies, pretty much. Sure, they have some stormtroopers walking around, and they have a recreation of the Millennium Falcon, but a square radar dish. People freak out over that. It's like, come on. You can't make a round, come on. But nothing else is really of any of the old kind. Now you can imagine that they want to pimp out that new stuff, the new stuff, and whoa, well, the new stuff hasn't done as good necessarily, and it's not selling its toys. And the reason that you had a fan base is people from the age of 50 to 60 all the way down have been watching these movies all their life, and they have somewhat expectations. You're supposed to beat those expectations, but what you're not supposed to do is ruin it and turn it into some SJW cuckling, all women generals. The princess is now a general. Men can't make any good decisions. The men are the bad guys on the bad side there, and women are running it over here, and all this type of stuff. And I haven't even watched the last movie. I've seen a lot of parts onto it, and after seeing the one before the last one, I just not going to go see it. Han Solo, no. I've seen enough of it, checking out pieces of it and everything, and they didn't do that good justice very much either. And they did some things to it, and Lando and everything that just, no, oh my God, and what they did to Luke Skywalker and turned him into a hermit that doesn't care, and he drinks green titty milk off a creature and all this silly crap. I mean, disgusting. You could see while maybe he was, when he would have interviews, he was just kind of like, what the hell? But that's not about this. This is about Rocketeer, something that's never gleaned anywhere near that amount of money, and yet they're going to want to redo this one too. And you can just about guess already that it's not going to be a dashing, tall, dark, and handsome white guy like it was last time, and like it would have been in 1938, of course, keeping up with everything correctly. No, they're going to redo this one. They're going to do it quite different. But does anybody remember this movie, The Rocketeer? They redid it a few years ago, and they didn't do a very good job with it, and it kind of became a cult classic afterwards, and a lot of people just saw it on HBO and stuff for cheap. Just like they did with that the captain and something or whatever, and they had all that CGI in it and everything, and it really was kind of a flop thing. I forget the captain and something. Somebody will write it down in the comments there and everything, but it didn't do too good either. Well, this didn't do too good either, but I watched it, and I watched it a couple of times. The first Rocketeer film was Joe Johnston's adaptation of a series of comics by Dave Stevens, and it underperformed at the box office in its original release, but it had a long tail. That's what they call it whenever it went to home video and all that type of stuff, because they had video back whenever this was going on. Due to the fact that it is utterly charming, and it's a decent movie, and it gives you a little of that old Errol Flynn flavor type thing. So yeah, and they tried to give it that old world thing, just like the captain. And God, I can't think of the word. It's got one weird word, but that goes on, and they pull off this old world Art Deco modern type stuff, and Blade Runner almost looking type stuff with that movie too. But if you remember Billy Campbell, which we don't really see much anymore, very debonair looking man, played a stunt pilot named Cliff Seckard, who stumbles upon a stolen top secret rocket jetpack, right? And this is the idea. And of course back then they had whenever they originally came out with this, it was all black and white and stuff, and Buster Crab, and they had God, what's the name of it? Buck Rogers in the 21st century, and people were already flying in airplanes. The Caucasians had already made flight and started going on from there, and were leading on into it, and then of course the Second World War happened, but we came out of that strong as hell too, and then we went to space and did all kinds of things. Lead humanity, it's an incredible thing, but they always want to take that portion out of it somehow. I don't know how that works. But Secord, along with his mechanic, which was Alan Arkin, and provided some comical relief if you remember Alan Arkin, and his girlfriend, Jennifer Connelly. You remember Jennifer Connelly, she was the girl in Labyrinth, and this wasn't too long after that. They crossed swords with Timothy Dalton. I don't know if you remember Timothy Dalton, but he was tall, dark, handsome stuff. He's played James Bond, 007, at one time and everything, so pretty, good actors that they had in it and everything, but it just didn't take off, and they thought, people are too old of stuff and blah 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 and out of context. Well, what do they think is going to happen now whenever they redo it even this much later? It almost seems like they're just shooting themselves in the foot from lack of grabbing another book and trying to make up something new out of that. That's what they had done before. Those Imagineers used to be incredible, but this Timothy Dalton, he used to play 007, but I hear that they're about to redo 007 too. And, not Disney, somebody else is going to redo 007. But what's weird about that is that this tall, dark, and handsome British man that's head of British intelligence is somehow going to become a black female. And while you could call her 008 if you want to try to mooch, or you could say, it's just another Scotland Yard type of thing and give it that flair. And no, they're going to abscond and they're going to ruin something. And Ian Fleming's whole lineup of everything, and just SJW try to ruin something. I hope it flops. I hope it catches fire, because why ruin everything? Things have a legacy you can look back on and smile. You're trying to take the smile out of everything, aren't you? That's terrible. But Timothy Dalton, he was playing a swashbuckling Nazi actor based loosely on a later discredited biography of Errol Flynn. So, it goes all back to that whole swashbuckling type thing too, but I don't think we'll be able to do that Nazi thing in this movie. That's gotten old, and the only thing that I can think of that they keep using it in is like Indiana Jones. He's always the guys that are trying to grab the stuff and it's not and everything. And of course, with the backing that they have and the Spielberg and where that comes from, we realize that that's going to be an issue. And of course, who else could we vilify? In a modern day, we're so SJW about everything and freaky that we couldn't use any people. We'd have to just make some other group of people up or utilize them. So kind of odd, but anyhow, the new film is to be called The Rocketeers, so they're going to put a plural on it. It will be set 6 years later in 1944. Secord has disappeared, so there's Tall, Dark, and Handsome has disappeared. What happened? And a new Rocketeer steps forward, a black female pilot who will battle to keep the jetpack technology out of the hands of the Soviets. Black female pilot. That's three words you have a hard time putting together. I don't know how many black female pilots there are in America, counting all the Air Force and in commercial flights, or even around the world. But no, and then, of course, this is somebody with a rocket pack. This was actually the inventor, precursor, if you will, to Iron Man. And they've made Iron Man, and everybody likes that. But I've even seen this thing recently where Adam from Mythbusters, they made a suit just like it, and he got these arm things on that this guy uses for hover, and he stands up, does just like Iron Man. It's pretty weird. And another thing, just a couple of weeks ago, a guy on his second attempt got on one of those hoverboards, go way up in the air and everything, fly around on it, and he actually went across the entire English Channel. And they could be utilized in military and things too. It's entirely possible, but to put that in other people's hands that never had it just seems kind of odd. And that's another one of those cuckle things where you try to ruin the heritage of something to include some people. Black people are 13% of the population, 13% of the population, and it just doesn't make any sense. Even these last few movies, I've seen a review on it where black people are mad because they know you're just trying to do it, like they're talking about redoing Ariel the Little Mermaid, a red-haired pale mermaid always through, and they're going to try to make her into a black mermaid. And this guy went off and he starts talking about 4 or 5 other movies that they've done it to, and then of course Captain Marvel and all these things that are going on. And I don't know if how empowering you're trying to make women, but you're not making women out of these girls. The feminism is losing in this whole desperate battle for some type of inclusion, and it sucks. It would have been a woman in a tower needed help, and the Rocket Man go to help her, right? The Rocket Man, yeah. They don't have Rocket Woman. There is Wonder Woman, so but that's not enough. All the Disney movies with the Disney princesses and things that they know, that's not enough. I guess so. And then now with their new girls have the Force thing at Disney, it looks like it's just going to just flop off in left field here, and everybody's just supposed to go with it. That's terrible. So anyhow, she's supposed to keep the technology out of the hands of the Soviets. So we're having a black woman here is going to be the protector of the United States. It would seem kind of ironic if you knew how things really were in the United States. And so he calls it, so it's a comic book Operation Paperclip starring Bessie Coleman, which sounds like a lot of fun. No, it sounds like a flop. It sounds like a desperate attempt and a flop. But maybe not as fun as Nazis blimps over Hollywood. Yeah, that's what was in the original or things like that. But they probably aren't going to be able to deal with that Nazi one. I think that's run its course. That's overrun its course. It really has. It's not going to be something we're just going to keep hounding the German people with whenever we're a couple of generations out now and things. Something to remember, but not to throw in their face. You understand? Just like if we were to do this movie with black people, we wouldn't throw in their face how primitive they were back then, and not too long before. You'd hope that they wouldn't, but if you did something based on history as opposed to some world freakout, you'd have to, wouldn't you? Anyhow, so no word on as yet who will play Werner von Braun. And I'm just going to guess that Werner von Braun is going to also be a black female or a black man. They're just taking the roles that are literally built for Caucasians and then trying to put someone in there that wouldn't fill the role and couldn't fill the role. But they're going to push it on us. And a wasted old movie that probably doesn't have much of a following. See, my parents liked it, but I didn't know much of anything about it. I used to see old black and white stuff and Buster Crab and all those old shows, so I saw some of that, but it was terrible graphics and stuff. They'd had this fake little model with some smoke coming out of it, and you could see the string, and they'd pull it along and stuff, you know. But and they used the same footage over and over again. Like they only got 20 times of him landing, and then they would do it, and then other ones you could tell that whenever he jumped, it was actually done in backwards, like they filmed and ran it backwards and things. But yeah, so I just thought I'd touch upon this, guys. I'm probably going to do a couple more. I want to do one on Star Wars and what they've destroyed of my childhood. For it's been kind of a key marker of my life at certain key points, you know, and then you look back at the very end of it, and wow, they sure did screw the pooch on that one, didn't they? And we've got this last one coming up, and then I've already heard that they're going to try to cram as many of the old guys in there, and of course there are people they killed off, but they'll show them back up as ghosts just for a second to try to make, you know, maybe you'll come see the movie for that and try to get back. But it's seems to be a failed loss at this point. But Disney developing a new Rocketeer sequel redo. Now they already have a movie that is a sequel and a redo of the original, so this is a redo of a redo sequel, replacing out the main actors with a black woman. Huh. You could make her lesbian too. That'd help, wouldn't it? Anyhow, guys, like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. And I hope you don't watch Rocketeer if it ever does come out. But that's only my feelings on it. You can do whatever you want to. Peace.